So guys, it's BD here, and with monitors, there's always been a compromise. You could have an ultra wide, but then you'd have to have a lower refresh rate, or you could have a super high refresh rate, but then you're dealing with a TN panel with horrible colors. But now in 2024, you can have it all. This new Asus ROG PG34WCDM is breaking all the rules in 2024. So today I'm going to go over some of the features that might make you want to join the ultra wide master race. So let's get some stats out of the way so you know what you're dealing with here. It is a 34-inch 3440 by 1440p OLED screen. It's an ultra wide monitor with a 21:9 aspect ratio, 240 Hz, and a low response time of 0.3 milliseconds. It's also got an 800 curve, which forms to the natural curvature of your eye, with the sides bending in more aggressively towards the outsides. This was new for me, but I will tell you, it gives you much more immersion into your games without being overly obnoxious. Some important ports on this are the display port, the HDMI 2.1 port, which allows you to play at 120 Hz on your PS5 or Xbox. That's super important for you console lovers. There is a 90-watt USB-C port, which allows you to plug in your laptop, charge it, and transmit the image at the same time. I love this because you only need one cable to do everything. The stand isn't too obnoxious as well. The legs do come out quite a bit to keep the monitor stable. On my desk, my mouse pad does overlap slightly in the top right corner. My desk is only 28 inches deep, if that gives you an idea for yourself. I think another 2 inches, like a 30-inch depth desk, would actually keep the mouse pad from being on the monitor stand. Then of course, they've got the RGB with the cool firing down logo. They give you these blank ones where you can design your own and have it fire down onto the desk, which I think is pretty cool. You can also mount this onto another stand or arm using their VESA mount converter that they've added into the box. They've got the cool Asus logo on the back, and on the front they've got the button system here where there's a little nipple on the front and then 2 buttons on the right and left side of it. I much prefer this than to reaching around the right or left side of the monitor trying to fumble around and navigate. This is my favorite button system on any monitor ever because it's just so simple. Now there's a lot of things you can do in the menu, but I'm just going to go over some of the key features like the variable refresh rate that you can switch on and off for the adaptive sync like G-Sync and FreeSync. There's also a brightness control at 65, which has been plenty bright for me. There's also a vivid pixel, which sharpens the image. I leave mine on 50, and that has been the perfect amount. Now when you put on their clear pixel edge, you're going to need to change that to 100 because I find that it kind of blurs the edge of the text, and I just leave that off. But I find 50 on the vivid pixel sharpens the image enough and gives you that clear text. And then you can also change your color space from the DCI-P, which is 99%, and RGB, and they also have a wide gamut. Depending on what you're doing, I just left mine on the wide gamut, which shows even more colors than the sRGB. There's also an aspect control, which we'll get into later, that allows you to turn this into an esports monitor. This is almost like having 2 monitors in one. This is the perfect segue to talk about the colors. Now OLED is known for having fantastic contrast ratios at 1.5 million to 1, and this contrast ratio really makes games, movies, and content really pop off your screen, giving it that 3D look. All of this combined makes for dessert for your eyes. A problem you will face if you bought an OLED screen in the previous generation is the brightness, but in the 3rd generation of these ROG screens, it is 30% brighter than its predecessors, and you definitely see it here. I only have to put my brightness, like I said, up to 65%, and it is already crazy bright. On previous, like last year when I tested OLED, I had to bump it up to 100, and even that wasn't enough. If I do 100 here, it's gonna melt my eyes. That's how good of a job they've done with the brightness. Asus has really taken away one of the pain points of OLED screens, so if that was the reason why you were holding off or holding back from picking up one, well, problem solved. Another thing that's been pretty bad with OLED screens is the color fringing. Now I still see it on the clock in the right hand corner. In everyday use, is not something that's going to be overly distracting, especially in games. I didn't notice it at all. Since this is such a capable monitor, it's going to be great for content creation, content consumption like movie and YouTube, and of course gaming. And since this is an ultra wide, it is fantastic for multitasking, having multiple windows open, screens open, doing research, editing, and softwares like Photoshop and DaVinci. Just having that extra real estate really pays off. I definitely much prefer this for work over a 16:9 aspect ratio, and it gives you a nice clean aesthetic on your desk compared to having 2 different monitors with that black line down the middle. The 800R curve can skew lines towards the outer edges, so if you're like an architect or something where you need to have straight exact lines, I would probably go with a flat panel or at least an ultra wide with less of a curve. Since we're talking ultra wide, we got to talk about the infamous black bars before we move move on to the gaming section. Now there are some things that you can do to combat these black bars. I have a plugin that I use on Chrome. It's called Ultra Wide Video, and you can use their experimental crop or aspect to get rid of the black bars and stretch out the video without making it look too warped. I highly recommend this. Now it doesn't play nicely with every video, but for the videos it does, it looks great. Now there are some games that are compatible with ultra wide and still have black bars around the cutscenes, which I absolutely dislike. I wish developers would take ultra wide into consideration more when putting out games, but once the gameplay does resume, it goes back to the ultra wide and gets rid of the black bars. In games like Valorant and CSGO, they do crop the edges so you don't get an unfair advantage. In some FPS games like Rainbow Six, they do allow you to see around the corner, giving you an unfair advantage, so you might want to pick one of these up if you play that game. Also, games that are more console centric like Halo and Call of Duty really take advantage of the ultra wide and look great, especially with the sceneries. In Valorant, there's just boxes. CSGO, there's just boxes. You're not really paying attention to that. For competitive FPS like Valorant and CSGO, it's almost too much to look at having 34 inches of information. So you want to cut that down. And actually, I don't mind the black bars, but Asus has took this a step further and put in that esports mode that I talked about earlier. This will mimic the aspect ratio of a 24-inch screen, making black bars around the entire game, making like one big bezel. Now it does look a little goofy, but I actually prefer this much to having that 34 inches. This is a game changer, and I love this feature. In fact, it's my favorite feature of this monitor, and it's what's going to keep some of us competitive people actually using this monitor. One thing you do want to do is once you set the esports mode and you go into your game, go back to your desktop and swap it from 60 hertz to 240 hertz because it will reset when you go into that mode. Then moving forward, it will do it automatically for you. You won't have to mess with that setting. So essentially, you can enjoy single player games with the ultra wide format, really immersing you into the game. And then when you need to, you could shrink it down, make a monitor into a monitor in the esports mode, get a 24-inch right in front of your face, click some heads. You will love this monitor. I'm telling you right now, it does it all. I've been playing a lot of Red Dead Redemption 2, and my lord, this is a top 5 moment in gaming for me with this OLED screen. It is that good. The game already looked amazing, but with the OLED, it just pops. And the immersion that you get with the ultra wide, forget it, man. This screen is amazing. And this year will be the year of like the single player open world games. I mean, look at Power World and the buzz that that's creating. This will be the perfect monitor for that. So let's talk about the motion blur, which is fantastic, by the way. I did a UFO ghosting test, and this is where OLED really excels over IPS. We all know that OLED really kills it with the response times, 0.03 milliseconds. And as you can see, the UFO test, we see very little ghosting around the UFO, and it definitely translates to gaming when you're whipping your mouse around the environment. Everything just stays intact, and it looks really close to real life. In fact, your eyes will have to adjust after a while if you're coming from a TN or an IPS panel, because it just looks so smooth and clear and vivid. And then you've got the 240 hertz refresh rate, and everything just looks so good. Personally, it takes a lot for me to consider dropping down from 360 hertz, and this monitor has me ready to switch because it just does everything. While it does have ELMB, which flashes a black screen in between frames to reduce motion blur, you don't really need it because the response times are so good and the blur is just, it's almost non-existent as is. Now I've been using it without, and it's already exceeded my expectations in a competitive setting. Okay, so before we get into the conclusion, I want to talk about some of the concerns that you might have with OLED. And you know, the number one thing that comes up with OLED is burn-in. That's where you leave your computer on an image for an extended amount of time, and then you're going to see a ghost or imprint on it when you go to another screen. One thing that Asus is doing to give you a little more peace of mind is giving you a 2-year warranty on burn-in. I haven't seen any other companies doing that, so it should give you a little more peace of mind. Now they also have this display widget center where you can change most of your settings from the desktop, and then they also have this display saver which automatically dims the screen to save your screen from burn-in. And then they also have this pixel cleaning, which detects and corrects pixel degradation if needed. So shout out to Asus for, you know, doing what they can or doing their part. At the end of the day, we all know OLED is the future. It's just dealing with some of these nagging technical issues that have plagued them. Okay, so after testing this monitor, I don't know what more you could ask for outside of maybe a higher refresh rate of 360 hertz or more. But for most people, 240 hertz is plenty, and a lot of people can't even notice the difference between the two. It has fantastic colors, a high refresh rate, top of the line response times, enough real estate if you want to do creative work or browsing or multitasking. If you're looking to have one monitor on your desk, unless you're like a pro gamer, I have no hesitation saying this is one of the best monitors that you can pick up for gaming in general. at the moment. We have all these bangers like Baldur's Gate 3, we had Diablo 4 last year, Cyberpunk, now we got Power World. I think in 2024, you're gonna want a monitor like this. Hell, I want a monitor like this moving forward that can just do everything. Other than that, I really don't have anything bad to say about this monitor. It's that good and I am that impressed. I mean, the price is a little steep at $1,300. You got that early adopters fee, but with everything that you're getting here, it's almost like 2 monitors in one. Like I said, man, the technology in this, the colors, the OLED, man, like this is a monitor to be reckoned with this year. If something can top this, they're doing the most. Like, this is a crazy monitor and I think it's worth every penny of it. So I'm gonna leave it there. If you guys have any more questions about the PG34WCDM, let me know down in the comments below. I'll be sure to answer them. Until the next one, guys, it has been your boy BT. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and most importantly, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.